Hi friends, happy Foster Care Friday. As you can tell from the video title, I am going to be responding to a video that my fellow foster mother over at Be the Village here on YouTube made earlier this week. It is titled Foster to Adopt, Is It Right? And I absolutely love Be the Village. I'm a fan of Be the Village. Whitney and John seem like incredible, amazing people. However, in this particular video, I actually do disagree with some of the major points that Whitney brought up about foster to adopt, and I want to share my perspective on that. So if you're interested in that, stick around. But first, if you're new here, my name is Anna Leonora. Together with my husband, Jason, we are foster parents in real life. And here on my channel from the Fosters, we do foster parenting life together and we raise awareness for the foster care system. So if any of that interests you, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel down below. Don't forget to hit your post notification bell. Set your notifications to all so that you won't miss when I post any new videos like this. And so you can join my growing cyber family here on YouTube. So there are some housekeeping things I want to take care of at the very beginning of this video. First and foremost, I am a big fan of Be the Village. I'm a subscriber to their channel. I have seen almost all, if not entirely all, of their videos. I've enjoyed following their journey and I love watching their perspective. And in the video that Whitney made about is foster to adopt right, she did say that she is making her points out of respect, and that she doesn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. She just wants to start the conversation, and that she is hoping for open, respectful communication and conversations about this topic. So I just want to say that even though I do disagree with some of her points, I will get into that, and why obviously I disagree with some of her points. I still entirely respect her opinion. I respect her point of view. And this is in no way bashing or angry or anything like that. I absolutely love Be the Village, completely respect them. But again, I just want to share my point of view because it is different. And this is, as Whitney said, it's a little bit of a hot button topic in the foster community. And I haven't shared my opinion on this on YouTube, at least yet, because I know that it is a hot button topic and I was kind of trying to stay away from it for that reason. But Whitney's right. We need to have these conversations. They are important. So I know I'm not the only person who feels the way that I do. And that's why I'm going to share my opinion, my point of view. Sorry, you can see the cat's kind of wandering back here. So that is housekeeping item number 1. Housekeeping item number 2, besides keep it respectful. I support reunification. Let me look right into the camera lens. I 100% support reunification when it is safe, stable, and healthy for the child. 100%. We have not had any of our placements reunify, but all of our placements that are no longer with us are with kinship family members, and we support that too. My husband and I 100% support reunification and kinship families when they are safe, stable, and healthy for the child. Nothing that I say in this video from this point on negates that. Nothing negates that. I absolutely support reunification when it is safe and stable and healthy for the child. 100%. Nothing I say for the remainder of this video negates that. What I am talking about is situations where that is not safe, stable, and healthy for the child, and when reunification is not possible. Because the reality is, in our country, in the United States, State to state varies, but the approximates across the nation: 1/3 of children in foster care reunify, 1/3 go to kinship family members, 1/3 are adopted. That's a huge number of children when there's 500,000 kids in the foster care system in the US. 1/3 of that is a very large number. So yes, I support reunification. I've talked about it plenty on my page. It's incredibly important when it's safe, stable, and healthy for the children. Nothing I say from this point forward negates that, and I need that to be abundantly clear. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the situations where reunification is possible, okay? Be on the same page with me. I'll say it one more time because I don't want to have to repeat this a million times in this video. I support reunification. I support kinship families when they are safe, stable, and healthy for the child. That is not what I'm talking about. You hear me? We good? Okay. Now, I want to get into the video so that it's not too long. I am going to go point by point. I took some notes. I'm going to go point by point how Whitney makes her points in her video. I will reference her point of view, but I'm not going to give you her full point of view. So if you really want to understand this, I do suggest that if you have not already seen Whitney's video, that you go over to Be the Village, look for their video. It's called Foster to Adopt, Is It Right? And you watch that first. It's not that long of a video. I think it's only 12 minutes or less. But if you want the full picture of what I'm talking about, go there first. I will try to link it down below. I don't know if that's possible since it's someone else's video. But anyway, I'm going to go point by point in the points, like in the order that she makes her points, just for some sort of way to keep myself on track. Okay? So if you do happen to see me looking at my notes, that's what they are, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything on my point of view. So now that we've gotten all that taken care of, let's get into why I disagree with Be the Village's point of view on if foster to adopt is right. First point that Whitney makes, she states that with foster to adopt, it's oftentimes families who have struggled with infertility or are same-sex couples and are unable to have children, and that foster to adopt does have its place with the children whose parental rights have already been terminated or who cannot go home for whatever reason, that's just not the norm. The reason I disagree with Whitney on this is that I actually know a lot of people who would love to adopt from foster care that don't have fertility issues or aren't same-sex couples. They truly just want to provide a child in foster care who does not have the ability to go back to their primary family or other kinship members and have not been adopted by some other family. They want to provide these kids a home. There are a lot of people like that in this country. So I disagree that it's just people who have had infertility or same-sex couples. And while that is one set of people who do turn to fostering, that's not necessarily the majority. And Whitney makes a point that it does have its place for the children whose parental rights have already been terminated. I just want to say that the amount of children in foster care whose parental rights have already been terminated and they are currently awaiting an adoptive forever family is over 100,000 children in the United States. Like over 100. I want to say it's like 125,000. It's a huge number. So it shouldn't just be downplayed as like, yeah, in those instances, foster to adopt or adopting, solely adopting from foster care has its place. There's a huge number of children in this country awaiting forever families, and we should not downplay that. That's kind of my first issue with this, is that we need more families to adopt from foster care because there's so many kids that need homes. So many kids that need homes. So that was kind of my first issue, is I felt like it was kind of downplayed, like, oh, it's okay and it has its place when, that's the circumstance. 1/3 of the children in foster care and over 100,000 children in the US need forever families. That's a large number. So I don't think that should be downplayed. Whitney makes a point that she doesn't like the term foster to adopt. She doesn't have an issue with adoption from foster care, but she doesn't like the term foster to adopt because in her mind, that sets an intent that would be against biofamilies. I disagree with that. Again, we have over 100,000 children in foster care. I can't speak for the entire country, but I can speak for my state and several other states. In the state of North Carolina where I live, you are required to foster a child for 6 months prior to being allowed to adopt them. Whether they are free and clear for adoption, if their parents' rights are terminated and everything else has been done and they are ready to be adopted, they have to live with a family for 6 months before the state will let them adopt that child. And you have to become a licensed foster parent to adopt a child from foster care in my state. So in my state, you have to foster that child, even though their parents' rights have already been terminated and kinship placements have been exhausted, kinship options have been exhausted. You still have to foster them for minimum 6 months. And often it ends up being more than that just because of how long everything takes on foster care. So if you're coming to foster care strictly to adopt children whose parental rights have already been terminated, you do have to foster that child first. So you are fostering them to adopt them. I don't see anything wrong with that intent. Now, again, I'm not saying people who come into fostering to foster children whose case plans may still be reunification. I'm talking about people who are coming to foster care to adopt children that are already waiting. But this isn't like a small piece of the pie. This is a third of children in foster care and over 100,000 children in our country. So I don't think that's a wrong intent to have, because we need more families who are willing to adopt these waiting children. So that's why I disagree with that particular point. Then she goes on to say that being a foster caregiver means supporting the child, the case plan, and the biofamily, regardless of what it means to you. Yes. However, there are a lot of families that come to adopt children from foster care who have those kids whose parental rights have already been terminated. So I don't see anything wrong with people who want to foster to adopt. I really don't. And honestly, we have such a shortage of foster parents as it is. To discourage people coming to foster care looking to adopt could turn away a lot of really good people. And I will just interject a very short story about myself and my husband at this point. My husband and I came to foster care to adopt. When we signed up for the classes, we told DSS, we only want to adopt. We don't want foster children because our heart can't take them being taken away from us. We can't handle that. That is how we came to foster care. When we did our classes, because again, in North Carolina, you have to be a licensed foster parent to adopt from foster care. When we did our classes, we learned things that we did not know about foster care. And it opened our eyes to a world that we truly didn't really know existed. It opened our eyes to problems that we didn't realize were as prevalent as they are. And something changed in us where we felt we could foster children. But had people been so against foster to adopt and tried to turn us off of that, we would have never taken the classes, learned what we did, and changed our mind and become the foster parents we are today. And again, if you're new here, we've had 8 children come through our home, and we have not adopted any of them at this point. We are in the process of adopting 1. Our other 2 are considered pre-adoptive at this time, but we're not in the process of adopting them yet because of all the legalities. We are in the process of adopting 1 of them. The other 2 are just considered pre-adoptive at this time. But the other 5 children we've had have left our home, and we've been okay with it. It's hard, but we've been okay with it. Had this conversation and people, had this conversation been happening as much as it was several years ago as it is now, and all these people kind of poo-pooing foster to adopt, we might have never gone to the classes, and we might have never gone through all of that and decided to become foster parents. What we need is to encourage more people to become foster parents, not less. And there absolutely is a large place in the foster care system for people who solely want to adopt. So again, yeah, if you're going to foster children who have reunification on the case plan, then yeah, you do have to support the child, the case plan, the family, regardless of what that means for you. But there are so many other ways to be a foster parent and to adopt children from foster care that I just don't think we should be discouraging people from that. That brings me to my next point. Whitney said that she prefers the term adoption through foster care or adoption from foster care versus foster to adopt. I don't think there's a difference. I think that if you are a foster parent fostering children who do have reunification on the case plan and an adoption happens to happen, then yeah, you could call that adoption from foster care. But I think that if you are coming to foster care solely to adopt, and that child has to live with you, you have to become a licensed foster parent, they have to live with you for half a year or more before you can adopt them, then yeah, you are fostering them to adopt. So I don't really see much of a difference in the terminology there. The other point she brings up that I love you, Whitney, I'm sorry, I really didn't like. Whitney made a point that a lot of people who are doing foster to adopt only want babies. I'm sorry, Whitney, I have to disagree. Babies through toddlers are one of the most highly requested age groups in fostering in general. That's not just people who want to adopt the children. That's people who are fostering just to foster. That's just a fact. And I know a lot of people, including myself and my husband, who are totally willing to foster and adopt older children. There are so many families that just want to help children in foster care or even just want to adopt. I mean, whatever their situation is, there's a lot of people willing, able, and happy to take older children. But certainly there are some families that want to adopt only the babies and the toddlers. That happens, but there's also families who only want to foster the babies and toddlers because it's a preferential thing. Some people can only handle that. There are different challenges that come with each stage of life and age group. And yeah, the 0 to 4 is the most highly requested period. So I don't think that's strictly a foster to adopt issue. Yeah. So I just disagree with that one. It's the most highly requested age group, period. Not just among people who want to adopt from foster care. So there's a lot of other families who are willing to take older children, but unfortunately the need for older children is much, much higher. So disagreed with that one. She went on to talk about private adoption, and the issue with cost and price, and then said that that's obviously a discussion for another day. I agree that adoption shouldn't cost so much money privately or, private, domestic, or international. I think adoption should not cost that much money. I think that is insane. But again, that's a topic for another time. So I did agree with her on that. However, adoption costing so much money from private adoption, international adoption, is what turns some families to foster care. And again, there's over 100,000 children in foster care that need families. So is that such a bad thing? No, I don't think it's a bad thing. If people turn to foster care for that, then they've turned to foster care for something. You know what I mean? And I think once you get into foster care, your heart can just change so much when you learn about foster care and you learn about the things you didn't know. So there's that. She goes on to talk about how there are some couples who turn to foster care wanting to adopt, but then are able to put their own feelings aside so that they can foster and support reunification when that's on the case plan. She goes on to say that those couples are the real heroes to her and all of this. Again, I disagree with this, because under that umbrella, that's me and my husband, we came to fostering because we wanted to adopt, but we were able to set that aside for our, remember, 5 other children who have come and gone from our home. Oh, there's Oliver. But I would not ever call us superheroes or amazing. Like, we're just normal people like everyone else. And again, had these conversations been happening, really trying to discourage people from foster to adopt, maybe we wouldn't have turned to fostering. Maybe we would have just thrown ourselves into fundraising for a private domestic adoption. Like, I don't know. I don't know what we would have done, but when we came to fostering, that was our intent. And the more we learned, the more we realized that this was something we wanted to do to help children and families. So there's more of us than you'd think. There's so many families, at least that I know. I don't know about where Whitney lives. I don't know about other states, but I can tell you in my state, especially in my county, but in our surrounding areas, there are so many families that are so okay with fostering, supporting reunification, supporting families, supporting kinship, supporting all of that, supporting the child, supporting all of it. And if an adoption happens, then an adoption happens, and they will keep a kid that has lived with them and that they've loved, and that's fine. But I don't think it's right to make us out to be superheroes. I've said in one of my other videos such a long time ago, I think it was my video titled Things Not to Say to Foster Parents, don't call us superheroes, don't call us angels, because, I mean, it's nice to be praised when you're doing really hard work. But if all these other people view what my husband and I do as some angelic or superhero quality, whatever, they may think that they can never obtain that or attain that level of compassion or whatever. That's not the case. My husband and I are totally normal people. We have our feelings and our emotions. And of course, we came to fostering because we wanted to adopt, but like, we're still able to do it. And we're just normal, everyday, average people. And I don't want people to get turned off of fostering because they think it's something they can't do or can't handle. Because that's just, again, it's just not the case. In that same point, she talks about how she finds it incredible when a couple is able to have experiences with a child that isn't theirs and then be able to give that child back to the family, and how hard that must be when your heart has a desire for adoption. I agree with that, but I think that that's hard for any good foster parent, whether they are in this for adoption or not. I think when you have experiences with a child and a child shares your home and your life and your family for so long, you get attached to them and you fall in love with them and they become part of your family. So for them to go back absolutely is going to be difficult, period. That's what these kids need. They need someone who loves them and cares about them and is fighting for them and is going to have their heart break a little bit when that child leaves. That's what that child needs. And so I don't think that that's solely an issue for people who want to adopt from foster care. I think that's an issue for foster parents just in general. She goes on to say that she really doesn't like when she hears foster parents refer to children as theirs, because that's doing a disservice to the bio family. This is where, yeah, I disagree. And this is going to make some people really mad. And please keep it respectful. This is where I disagree. When I refer to my children as mine, my foster children as mine, I am not saying that they are not also their bio families. In my opinion, these children have come from situations of significant, severe ABUSE and neglect. And I spell the A one because YouTube doesn't like it. what these children need is to feel they belong and they are loved and they are accepted. And I cannot imagine being out in public, someone saying, "Are these your kids?" and me saying, "Oh no, these are my kids, my adopted and bio kids. These are my kids, but that one's not mine. He has another family, or she has another family." To me, that's going to cause more hurt and more pain to the child. I'm not going to go around and say, "This is my child. I birthed them. I own them. I have the legal rights to them." Like, I'm not going to do that. And of course, I'm going to honor the child's birth family, because guess what? I'm never going to be the birth family. I didn't birth that child. So I'm going to respect and honor the birth family, the primary family. That child is theirs in a sense, but the child's also mine in a sense. The child lives with me. They're doing the day-to-day activities with me. They're siblings with my children, like all of these things, right? So to me, calling the children mine doesn't say that that means that they're not their bio families. I can see where a bio family member might feel that way if they hear a foster family call the kid theirs. I can see that. But at the end of the day, my job is to think about the child, what's best for the child. And yes, I need to have consideration and empathy, sympathy, support for the bio family, but that's not my number one priority as a foster caregiver. My number one priority is the child. So if I'm in a situation where someone's going to ask me about my kids, I'm not going to exclude that child, because I don't want that child to feel excluded from my family. While they are here, they are a member of my family. And even after they leave, if they've lived with us, they're a member of our family, always. So yeah, I'm not going to change what I do on that one. I do it in a way that I hope is still respectful to our bio families. But I'm not going to use language or verbiage that's going to make my child feel like they're not part of our family when they are. Of course, we still respect and honor and talk about their birth families with them and how that is still their birth family and they have two families. But I'm not going to make it sound like, "No, you only have one family. It's your family over there. We're not your family." I would never, ever do that to one of my children. I think that would break their hearts even more. Yeah, so I disagree with that one for that reason. And yeah, I don't try to ever tell my children that I birthed them or I'm their primary family or we're their only family. We don't do that. But my children know that they have two families, or even more if they've lived in other foster homes for long periods of time. But while they are here, and if they've lived here, even after they leave, they're always part of my family. They're always going to be my kids. But they have other sets of parents as well. So that's kind of where I stand on that one. I know that one's a hot button topic one, because bio parents can get really upset about that. But again, at the end of the day, my job as a foster caregiver is to make sure my child feels safe, secure, welcome, loved, all of that. And I'm not going to use language that says that they're not my child, because I feel like that's just not good for their emotional and mental well-being. Whitney goes on to mention how she can see how if a foster family really wants to adopt a child, how they may unintentionally sabotage the primary family or the birth family's case plan, or sabotage their ability to get the kids back. I disagree with this one, because where I'm at, foster parents have no say. State of North Carolina, foster parents don't have a say in the case plan, and they're not told about what the bio parents' case plan is, what the bio parents are working on their case plan versus not working on their case plan. We're not allowed to know about the results of drug tests. So I don't see how I could sabotage a parent's opportunity at getting their child back, because there's nothing I'm allowed to know or do or say. I don't get to testify in court until we're at the point of a TPR. And at that point, it's not my fault in any way if we're at that point. In our state, I can't speak for the whole country, but in our state, especially in my county, they have to have a very significant amount of evidence, and they have to meet an evidence threshold to be able to terminate a parent's rights. And it's a large burden of proof. It's a large burden of proof. And they do keep kids in the system year after year after year, trying to collect enough evidence to make sure that that TPR is justified. And I can promise you there's nothing I could do or say as a foster parent that would meet that level of burden of proof for a TPR. There's just nothing I could do or say. So if we're at a point of TPR, that's not on me as a foster caregiver. Even if I love your kid and want to adopt them, there's not anything I could do. I can't say that you failed drug tests. I mean, that's something you have to do. I can't say, yes, you went to your parenting classes or not. In my county, we don't ever supervise visitation. DSS does that. So I can't say you did something at a visit. So especially in my county, but I believe in my state, there's just nothing I could do or say as a foster parent that would get those parents' rights terminated. If their rights are terminated, that's on them. That's not on me. And so I disagree with Whitney on that one. Yeah, if reunification's still on the plane, I'm going to support it, and I'm going to do shared parenting. For those of you who have been here a while, you know that I've done shared parenting with Casper's parents for almost 2 years now, and we have what I think a really decent, good relationship with his parents. And, we plan to keep it that way. And I think we're supportive of them. I think we love them in the ways that we know how to love them. We only speak positively about them in front of Casper. But there are things that we are required to report. If Casper tells us about an incident where he were abused, and I'm going to say Casper, but this is not applying to Casper's case. So I'll make up a kid, Bubbles. If I have a kid in my care, Bubbles, and Bubbles tells me about something their parents did to abuse them, I am obligated to report that. But I would hope that if you've passed all the background checks and done all the things you need to do to be approved as a licensed foster parent, you're not the kind of person who's just going to come up with lies. And even then, you could report something, but if they have no way to prove it, it's not going to count towards a burden of proof with a TPR. They have to have actual evidence. So I don't think there's not enough a foster parent could do to get a birth parent's rights terminated. There's no way. The birth parents have to either work their plan or not work their plan, and that's on them. And the services that social services provides them, and them utilizing the services that social services provides them. So yeah, I disagree with that one. Whew, this is getting to be a long video. I apologize. She goes on to talk about she doesn't like seeing people celebrate adoption on social media because she wished there was some sort of acknowledgement of the trauma that comes with that. Disagree with her there. Yes, if you're adopting a child, you should be acknowledging the trauma that comes with that child. If you need to discuss it in therapy, if you need to do therapy as a family, if you just need to simply acknowledge the child, I understand that there's also this part of adoption that's super hard. Yeah, but I'm not going to put that all over social media because that's between me and my child. And that's something that their trauma and their hurt and their pain is private for them. So I'm only going to show the celebratory part on social media. If you're getting into adoption, I would hope that someone's training you or talking with you somewhere about the trauma that comes with adoption. But I'm not going to put that all over social media. And if my child's been in foster care for years and years and years, heck yes, I'm going to celebrate that child being able to leave foster care, that child being able to have a safe, stable, permanent home, that child not having to ask DSS permission for everything. Just the end of that horrible era. Yeah, we're going to celebrate that. You better believe it. And I want my child to know that they have all this love that not just comes with me and my husband, but with our extended family, our friends. If I have a child who's old enough that says, listen, I'm feeling like, yeah, I want to be adopted, but I'm also feeling some sort of way about it, I don't want to make it a big deal, then we're going to listen to that and we're going to take that into consideration. But with the younger ones, like, and an older one who wants it, yeah, we're going to celebrate it. And we're not going to talk about the trauma that comes with it because that's my child's private business. She goes on to talk about how more services should be provided to the primary family so that the children don't have to be removed in the first place. Yes, I do agree with that point. Just yes. And I know that there's a lot of bills, legislation, and things happening across the country to try to allow for that. If we could prevent the kids from having to come into foster care in the first place, that would be ideal. But unfortunately, there are a lot more situations of ABUSE and neglect, significant levels of ABUSE and neglect in children in our country than people realize or are willing to think are true. And in a lot of cases, children get stuck in those homes anyway. I know personally of several situations where children were being severely, severely neglected to the point that it was life-threatening. And DSS did not have enough evidence to remove those kids and had to leave them there for months and months and months before they had enough evidence to remove them, because the burden of evidence that there has to be in order to remove a child is large. So yeah, my overall points here is that as a foster caregiver, my primary concern is the child, period. Not the biofamily. And yes, if reunification's on the plan, then yeah, we're going to support the biofamily. We're going to do shared parenting with them. We would do it again. We've made some great relationships with biofamily members, but that's not my number one concern is the foster parent. My number one concern is the child, what is most healthy, most safe, and in the best interest of the child. And if that is having a lot of communication with the biofamily, great, but every situation's different. And there have even been situations where we have not even been allowed to have conversations with the biofamily because the biofamilies are under no contact orders with the kids. You know what I mean? So like, it really depends on the situation. But I think at the end of the day, there are so many children in foster care that already have had reunification taken off the table that need good adoptive families. There's so many of those that we need more families willing to adopt those kids. Even if they're not willing to foster children who's have reunification on the plan, they still should come to fostering to adopt waiting children. So we need more foster caregivers, not less. And there's probably a whole lot more people like me who turn to fostering wanting to adopt. And then the more I learned, the more I became open to it. So I think the point when it comes to foster to adopt, in my opinion, is that we shouldn't be putting that down and we should actually be encouraging that, because we have over 100,000, something closer to 125,000 children in foster care that need permanent homes. It's not just some little amount. So overall, Whitney made some really good points, but overall I disagree, again, in all due respect. But yeah, we need more families, not less. So as always, let me know what you think. This video is long enough at this point. Feel free to leave your comments down below. Comments, questions, concerns. Remember, keep it respectful. I love you all. Yeah, just food for thought. Until next time, bye.